Savage X Revenge.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Savage X Revenge, the only place you'll find the most jaw-dropping revenge stories out there. I'm Jack, and this is my story. It's a story about love, betrayal, and a plan for revenge that, even now, gives me a seriously twisted sense of satisfaction. Ever wondered what happens when the person you love the most, the one you trust with your life, sticks a knife right in your back? Sure, you're gonna be devastated, you're gonna be pissed, but what do you do next? Stick around as I unravel this, and maybe you'll find some answers for yourself. I'm Jack Miller, 42, an international trade lawyer here in New York City. It's a busy, high-pressure gig, but I love it. I dig the feeling of winning a case, the way I can help small businesses go global. And I love my life too. Penthouse in Manhattan, a Porsche 911, and a beautiful, talented wife named Sarah. Sarah was a fashion designer. She had her own brand, and her stuff was sold in all the fancy boutiques around town. She had incredible taste, endless creativity, and a smile that could melt glaciers. We were married for 12 years, and I always thought I was the luckiest guy on the planet. But everything changed on that one awful day, March 15th of last year. My mom, the most important woman in my life, passed away suddenly from a heart attack. It happened so fast, so unexpectedly, that I didn't even get to say goodbye. I was completely shattered. Sarah was there for me through it all. She held me, comforted me, helped me with the funeral arrangements. I know she was hurting too because she and my mom were super close. But I needed her more than ever, and she didn't let me down. At least, that's what I thought. After the funeral, I was completely lost. I couldn't focus at work, I didn't want to leave the apartment, I just wanted to lie in bed and wallow. Sarah tried to cheer me up, but nothing seemed to work. I got irritable, moody, and I took it all out on her. "You can't keep doing this, Jack," Sarah told me one night. "I know you're hurting, but you gotta keep living. Your mom wouldn't want this." "You don't understand," I snapped. "You don't know what it's like to lose your mother." "I do," she replied softly. "I lost my mom when I was a kid, remember?" I shut up. I've forgotten about that. Sarah never talked much about her past. "I'm sorry," I said. "You're right. I get it," she interrupted. "I'm here for you." I hugged her tight. I loved her so damn much. I didn't know what I'd do without her. A few weeks later, Sarah told me she had to go to Miami for a business trip. She had to meet with some potential clients to promote her brand. I didn't like the idea of her going alone, but I knew it was a big opportunity for her. "I'll only be gone for a few days," she said. "I'll call you every day." "Okay," I said. "Take care of yourself." She kissed me and left. I stood at the window watching the cab drive her away. I felt a little uneasy, but I brushed it off. She'd be fine. That day, I tried to focus on work, but I couldn't. I kept thinking about Sarah, about my mom, about all the messed up things that had happened. By the afternoon, I decided to head to my usual bar for a couple of whiskeys. I needed to unwind. I sat at the bar, nursing my drink and watching the people go by. I realized I hadn't been out alone in a long time. I always went places with Sarah. I missed her. Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice. "Jack? What are you doing here?" I turned around and saw a familiar woman standing there. It was Olivia, a friend of Sarah's. I'd met her a few times before. "Olivia," I said. "What a surprise." I get it," she interrupted. "Sarah's in Miami, right?" "Yeah," I said. "Want a drink?" she asked. "Sure," I said. We sat down together and started talking. Olivia was an interesting woman. She worked in finance, and she had a ton of interesting stories to tell. We laughed a lot, and I felt a little better. "I'm really sorry about your mom," Olivia said. "I know you guys were really close." "Thanks," I said. "I miss her a lot. If you need anything, just let me know," she said. "I'm always happy to help." "I appreciate that," I said. We kept talking until late into the night. When I got home, I was pretty drunk. I crashed on the bed and passed out. The next morning, I woke up with a killer headache. I tried to remember what had happened last night, but it was all hazy. I just remembered drinking a lot and talking to Olivia. I grabbed my phone and saw a text from Sarah. "Made it to Miami safe. Love you." I smiled. I loved her too. The next few days dragged on. I tried to work, but I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about Sarah. I missed her like crazy. Finally, the day Sarah was coming back arrived. I went to the airport to pick her up. When I saw her walking out of the gate, my heart skipped a beat. She looked gorgeous. "I missed you," she said, hugging me tight. "I missed you too," I said. We kissed, and I felt like everything was back to normal. We got in the car and drove home. "How was the trip?" I asked. "Amazing," she said. "I met with a ton of potential clients. I think my brand's gonna blow up." "I'm glad to hear that," I said. We got home and started unpacking. As Sarah was opening her suitcase, I saw something that stopped me dead in my tracks. It was a men's shirt. A men's shirt I had never seen before. "What's this?" I asked, my voice shaking. Sarah looked where I was pointing and her face went white. I don't know," she said. "Maybe I got it mixed up with someone else's." "Mixed up?" I said, my voice getting hard. "You think I'm stupid? Whose shirt is this?" Sarah was silent. She wouldn't look me in the eye. "Tell me," I yelled. "Whose damn shirt is it?" Okay, she said, her voice trembling. "It's from someone I met in Miami." "Who did you meet in Miami?" I asked. "You're cheating on me, aren't you?" Sarah burst into tears. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It just what?" I asked. "What the hell are you talking about?" "I slept with someone else," she confessed. "I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. I couldn't breathe." "No," I said. "No way. You're lying." "I'm not lying," she said. "I slept with a guy in Miami." I was silent. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The woman I loved most, the one I trusted most, had betrayed me. "Why?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Why would you do that?" "I don't know," she said. I felt lost. I needed something new. New. I spat. "You call sleeping with someone else new? What about my feelings?" "I'm sorry," she said. "I know I hurt you. But I couldn't help it." "Couldn't help it?" I asked. "You could have talked to me. You could have shared your feelings. But you chose to betray me." "I'm sorry," she repeated. I looked at her. I didn't recognize this woman anymore. She had become someone completely different. "I can't believe it," I said. "I can't believe you did this to me." "I'm sorry," she said. "I don't want to hear your apologies," I said. "I want you to get out of my house." "What?" she asked. "I want you to get out of my house," I repeated. "I don't want to see you again." Sarah started sobbing uncontrollably. "Please don't do this," she said. "I love you. I don't want to lose you." "You already lost me," I said. "You destroyed everything yourself." I turned and walked away. I didn't want to look at her anymore. I didn't want to hear her voice anymore. I just wanted her to disappear from my life. I walked out of the apartment and wandered the streets of New York. I didn't know where I was going. I just wanted to escape the pain. I went to a bar and ordered a whiskey. I downed it in one gulp. I ordered another one. I sat at the bar and watched the people go by. I felt lonelier than ever before. I had lost my mom and now I had lost Sarah. I had nothing left. I started thinking about what I was going to do next. I couldn't keep going on like this. I needed to do something. Suddenly, an idea flashed in my head. A dark idea, but full of appeal. Revenge. I would get revenge on Sarah. I would make her pay for what she had done to me. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I would find a way. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. From that night on, my life changed forever. I wasn't the Jack Miller everyone knew anymore. I had become a different person. A person full of hatred and determined to get revenge. I started making plans. I needed to gather information about Sarah, about the man she slept with, about everything. I needed to know everything so I could plan the perfect revenge. I knew this was a dangerous path, but I had no other choice. I had to get revenge. I had to make Sarah regret betraying me. That night, I swore to myself. I wouldn't stop until Sarah had suffered what I had suffered. I would make her taste the pain, the loneliness, and the betrayal. And that's how my journey of revenge began. What do you think I'll do next? Stay tuned. After that hellish night, I threw myself into work like a man possessed. I needed to keep my mind occupied to stop the thoughts of Sarah and her cheap fling from consuming me. I was burning the midnight oil, taking on new cases, just trying to prove to myself that I was still a damn good lawyer, a successful guy. But deep down, I knew I was just running. I was trying to bury the pain, the anger, and the sheer disappointment. I couldn't shake that moment when Sarah confessed to cheating. The image just kept replaying in my head like a broken record. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, soaked in sweat, heart pounding like a drum solo. I lost my appetite. The weight was just melting off me and I looked like hell. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just keep living in the past. I needed to find a way to get over this pain. And I knew the only way to do that was revenge. I started gathering intel on Sarah. I wanted to know everything about her life, her business, her friends. I wanted to find her weaknesses, the things I could use to hurt her. I hired a private investigator. He was this seasoned, middle-aged guy with a sharp gaze and a sinister grin. He'd been in the business for years and he knew how to uncover any secret. I want you to dig up everything on Sarah Miller, I told him. I want to know what she's doing, who she's seeing, where she's going. I want the whole damn story. All right, he said. But you gotta understand, this ain't gonna be cheap. I don't give a damn about the money, I said. I just want the truth. The PI got to work. He tailed Sarah day and night, documenting her every move. He also dug into her past, her family, her previous relationships. A few days later, he called me and said he had some important information. I met him at a dive bar in Brooklyn. She's been seeing a guy, the PI said. He's a personal trainer named Marco. He's a lot younger than her and he's got a bodybuilder physique. I clenched my jaw. Not surprised. Sarah always had a thing for younger, muscular guys. I want to know everything about this guy, I said. I want to know who he is, what he does, and what his weaknesses are. The PI nodded. I'll take care of it, he said. A few days later, he called me and said he had the dirt on Marco. He's a meathead, the PI said. He's got no education, he's just a personal trainer. He's also got some financial problems. He's got a ton of debt and he's being chased by creditors. I smirked. I found Marco's weakness. I want you to find out if Sarah knows about Marco's financial issues, I said. I want to know if she's been helping him out financially. The PI continued his work. He followed Sarah and Marco and he recorded their conversations. A few days later, he called me and said he had proof that Sarah was helping Marco financially. She's been paying his rent, the PI said. She also bought him a new car. I ground my teeth. I couldn't believe Sarah was so stupid. She was wasting her money on a freaking meathead. I started plotting my revenge. I wanted to make Sarah regret betraying me. I wanted to make her suffer the way I was suffering. I decided to start by destroying her career. I knew her fashion brand was everything to her. It was her baby and she'd poured her life into building it. I contacted some journalist friends I knew. I told them about Sarah's affair and I gave them the evidence the PI had gathered. The journalists were thrilled with the story. They knew it would create a media firestorm. They promised to publish articles about Sarah in all the major newspapers and magazines. A few days later, the articles about Sarah started appearing. They were published in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and Vogue. The articles detailed Sarah's affair, how she'd been lying to me, and how she'd been wasting her money on a muscle-bound nobody. The articles sent shockwaves through the fashion world. Sarah's clients started canceling orders. The boutiques stopped selling her designs. Her brand was on the verge of collapse. I smirked. My plan was going according to plan. But I wasn't stopping there. I wanted to make Sarah suffer even more. I wanted to make her lose everything. I started spreading rumors about Sarah in New York's high society circles. I told everyone that she was a fraud, a traitor, and a hypocrite. I said she only cared about money and status. The rumors spread like wildfire. People started avoiding Sarah. She was blacklisted from social events. She was isolated and alone. I felt a twisted sense of satisfaction seeing Sarah suffer. I knew I was doing the right thing. She deserved everything that was happening to her. But deep down, I still felt empty. I realized that revenge wasn't bringing me happiness. It was just making me more bitter and hateful. I started wondering if I was going too far. Would destroying Sarah's life really make me feel better? I didn't know the answer, but I knew I couldn't stop. I'd gone too far already. I had to continue my plan until it was complete. I decided to move on to the next phase of my revenge plan. I wanted to make Marco suffer. I wanted to make him regret sleeping with Sarah. I contacted some people I knew in the underworld. I asked them to look into Marco and make his life difficult. They agreed to help me. They said they'd teach him a lesson. A few days later, I got a call from one of my contacts in the mob. We had a chat with Marco, he said. We talked to him about sleeping with your wife. He was scared shitless. We warned him to stay away from Sarah. Did you hurt him? I asked. We just gave him a warning, he said. We didn't want to cause too much trouble. I was disappointed. I wished they had hurt Marco. I wanted him to suffer the way I had suffered. But I knew I couldn't push them to do that. I didn't want to get involved with the law. I decided to take care of the Marco problem myself. I wanted to confront him face to face. I wanted to look him in the eye and tell him what I thought of him. I tracked down the gym where Marco worked. I walked in and asked the receptionist if I could see Marco. The receptionist looked me up and down. Do you have an appointment? She asked. No, I said. But I need to talk to him right now. The receptionist shrugged and made a phone call. A few minutes later, Marco walked out. He was a big guy, ripped to shreds. He was wearing a tight t-shirt that showed off his six-pack. Who are you? He asked. I'm Jack Miller, I said. I'm Sarah's husband. Marco's face went white as a ghost. He knew what was coming. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't know she was married. You're lying, I said. She told you everything. She told you she was married and that she loved me. Marco was silent. He wouldn't meet my eyes. You're a piece of garbage, I said. You ruined my life. You slept with my wife. I'm sorry, he repeated. I stepped closer to Marco. I wanted to punch him in the face. I wanted to make him suffer. I want you to stay away from Sarah, I said. I don't want you to see her again. If you do, I'll make you regret it. Marco nodded. I promise, he said. I'll never see her again. I stared at him for a moment. I saw the fear in his eyes. All right, I said, but I'll be watching you. If I find out you're lying to me, you'll pay the price. I turned and walked away. I felt a little satisfaction seeing Marco scared, but I still felt empty. I realized that revenge wasn't bringing me happiness. It was just making me more bitter and hateful. I started wondering if I was wasting my time and energy on revenge. Should I just focus on rebuilding my life? I didn't know the answer, but I knew I needed to do something. I couldn't just keep living in the past. I needed to find a way to get over this pain. I decided to see a therapist. I wanted to talk to someone about my feelings. I wanted to find a way to deal with the anger, the disappointment, and the loneliness. The therapist was an older woman with a soothing voice and a knowing gaze. I told her everything about my life, my marriage, Sarah's affair, and my revenge plan. She listened patiently. She didn't judge me and she didn't try to talk me out of revenge. I understand you're feeling a lot of pain, she said. You've been betrayed and you have a right to be angry. But you have to understand that revenge isn't going to bring you happiness. It's only going to make you more bitter and hateful. So what am I supposed to do? I asked. I can't just keep living in the past. You need to forgive, she said. You need to forgive Sarah and you need to forgive yourself. Forgive? I asked. How can I forgive her after everything she's done to me? I know it's difficult, she said, but you have to understand that forgiving doesn't mean you condone what she did. It just means you're not letting her control your life anymore. It means you're letting go of the past and you're ready to move on. I thought about what she said. I knew she was right. Revenge wasn't bringing me happiness. It was just making me more miserable. I decided to try to forgive Sarah. I didn't know if I could do it, but I would try. I started by stopping thinking about her. I no longer tracked her. I no longer spread rumors about her. I just tried to forget about her. I also started focusing on rebuilding my life. I worked harder. I spent time with friends and family. I started exercising regularly. Gradually, I started feeling better. I was no longer as hurt and angry as before. I began to find joy in life again. I knew that I still had a long way to go, but I knew I was on the right track. I was gradually overcoming the pain and finding new happiness. Time rolled on and I gradually got used to the single life. The spacious penthouse apartment was now just me, but I didn't feel as lonely as I used to. I filled the void with work, friends, and personal hobbies. I joined a golf club, started taking piano lessons, and spent more time with my family. I realized there was so much to life and I had missed out on so much because I was so consumed by work and my marriage to Sarah. My career continued to thrive. I kept winning big cases and my reputation in the legal world continued to climb. I was even nominated for senior partner at the firm, a position I had always dreamed of. But the most important thing was I found peace of mind. I was no longer haunted by Sarah and what she had done to me. I had forgiven her and I had forgiven myself. Of course, I still thought about her sometimes. I wondered what she was doing, if she was happy and if she regretted what she had done. But those thoughts no longer caused me pain. They were just memories, chapters closed in the book of my life. One evening, as I was sipping a glass of wine on my balcony, my phone rang. I looked at the screen and saw an unfamiliar number. I hesitated for a moment, then decided to answer it. Hello? I said. Jack, it's Sarah. I froze. I hadn't heard her voice in months. Sarah? I said, surprised. What do you want? I'm sorry to bother you, she said, but I need to talk to you. I don't think we have anything to say to each other, I said. Please, just give me a chance, she said. I know I hurt you terribly, but I want to explain everything. I was silent for a moment. Part of me wanted to hang up immediately, but another part was curious to hear what she had to say. All right, I said, but I only have an hour. We agreed to meet at a small coffee shop in Greenwich Village. When I arrived, I saw Sarah sitting in a dark corner. She looked thin and tired. Hi, she said softly. Hi, I said. We sat down and were silent for a moment. I looked at Sarah, trying to find a trace of the woman I used to love, but I only saw a haggard and remorseful figure. I want to apologize, she said. I know I hurt you so much. I'll never forgive myself for it. Your apologies mean nothing anymore, I said. You destroyed everything. I know, she said. I was so stupid. I lost the greatest man in the world. I said nothing. I just looked at her. I want you to know that I'm really sorry, she said. I was wrong to have an affair. I was wrong to leave you. I wish I could turn back time. Don't waste your time on the impossible, I said. The past is gone. I know, she said, but I want you to know that I've always loved you. I scoffed. You loved me? I asked. If you loved me, why did you betray me? I don't know, she said. I was so confused. I felt lost. I needed something new. New? I asked. You call sleeping with someone else new? I know I was wrong, she said. I hurt you so much. I'll never forgive myself for it. You already said that, I said. I just want you to know that I'm really sorry, she said. I want you to know that I've always loved you. You need to forget about me, I said. I'm not a part of your life anymore. I know, she said, but I can't forget you. You're the most important man in my life. I stood up. I gotta go, I said. I don't have time for this nonsense. Please don't leave me, she said. I need you. You destroyed everything yourself, I said. I can't help you. I turned and walked away. I didn't want to see her anymore. I didn't want to hear her voice anymore. I just wanted her to disappear from my life. I walked out of the coffee shop and wandered the streets of New York. I felt a little pity for Sarah, but I knew I couldn't go back to her. She had betrayed me and I could never trust her again. A few weeks later, I got a call from an old friend. He said he wanted to introduce me to a woman. She's an amazing woman, he said. She's smart, beautiful, and funny. I think you two would really hit it off. I hesitated for a moment. I hadn't dated anyone since breaking up with Sarah. I wasn't sure I was ready to start a new relationship. All right, I said. I'll meet her. I agreed to meet the woman at a fancy restaurant on the Upper East Side. When I arrived, I saw her sitting at the waiting table. She looked absolutely stunning. Hi, she said, smiling. I'm Emily. Hi, I said. I'm Jack. We sat down and started talking. Emily was an interesting woman. She was an architect and she had a lot of interesting stories to tell. We laughed a lot and I felt comfortable being with her. I realized I liked Emily from the very first meeting. She was a smart, beautiful, and funny woman. She was also kind and considerate. We started dating regularly. We went out for dinner, saw movies, and took walks in the park. I realized I was falling in love with Emily. A few months later, I decided to propose to her. I was nervous, but I knew I had to do it. I didn't want to lose her. I took Emily to a romantic restaurant on Long Island Sound. After dinner, I got down on one knee and pulled out a diamond ring. Emily, I said, my voice shaking. Will you marry me? Emily burst into tears. Yes, she said. I will. I slipped the ring on her finger and we hugged each other tight. I felt happier than ever before. I had found true love. We got married the following summer. It was a small, intimate wedding with family and close friends. I watched Emily walk down the aisle and I knew I had made the right decision. After the wedding, we moved to a large house in the suburbs. We had a large garden, a swimming pool, and a dog named Max. We lived a happy and peaceful life. I no longer thought about Sarah. She had become a part of the past, a distant memory. I had overcome the pain and found new happiness. Occasionally, I would still hear news about Sarah. I knew that she was still trying to rebuild her career. I also knew that she had broken up with Marco. I felt nothing when I heard that news. I no longer loved her and I no longer hated her. I just wanted her to be happy. I realized that revenge hadn't brought me happiness. It had only made me more bitter and hateful. The most important thing was to forgive and let go of the past. I had learned an important lesson. Betrayal doesn't destroy you, it's how you react to it that determines your future. I had chosen to react positively and I had found new happiness. I looked at Emily playing with Max in the garden. I smiled. I knew I had made the right decision. I had chosen love, forgiveness, and happiness. So, you see, revenge might give you a temporary rush, but it's never the full answer. Sometimes, the best revenge is living a better life, a life that the person who hurt you will envy. But is that really revenge, or is it just that you've learned to love and value yourself more? If you're going through a similar situation, remember that you're not alone. So many people have been through the same thing, and they've made it through. Seek help from friends, family, or a professional therapist. Don't let betrayal control your life. Forgive, let go, and move on. And most importantly, love yourself. You deserve to be happy. If you enjoyed my story, hit that like button and subscribe to the Savage X Revenge channel so you don't miss out on more captivating revenge stories. Share the story with your friends and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think I was right to take revenge on Sarah? Do you think I should have forgiven her sooner? Share your opinions. Thanks for listening.